Imagination is the workshop of the mind, wherein are fashioned all plans created by man. Everything you see around you, the buildings you live in, the devices you hold in your hand, the cities you travel through, the wealth men build, and the civilizations they sustain, all of it began as nothing but a picture in someone's imagination. Before the airplanes soared, it was first imagined. Before the telephone rang, it was imagined. Before fortunes were built, they were imagined. Man, without imagination, is little more than an animal surviving from day to day. With imagination, he becomes a creator, a builder, a master of his own destiny. Consider this. The chair you sit on was once an idea in the mind of someone who imagined a more comfortable way to rest. The clothes you wear were once imagined by someone who saw patterns, colors, and fabrics before they were ever woven. Even money itself is born from imagination. It is nothing but paper and metal until people agree to imagine its value. Entière nation. Entire systems of law. Entire economies are constructions of imagination that became reality because men believed in them. If imagination is powerful enough to create nations and fortunes, how much more can it create the life you dream of if you learn to master it? Imagination comes in two forms: synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination rearranges old concepts, old plans, old ideas into new combinations. It is what the engineer uses when he improves a machine, or the entrepreneur uses when he adapts an existing idea into a new business. It does not create out of nothing, but it creates progress by building upon what is already known. Creative imagination, however, is something higher. It is the channel through which infinite intelligence communicates with man. It is the source of flashes of inspiration, sudden insights, brilliant visions that seem to come from nowhere. It is the language of the subconscious mind, connected to all wisdom past, present, and future. The greatest breakthroughs in history came not from logic alone, but from creative imagination. But here is the tragedy. Most people never use their imagination beyond childhood. As children, they dreamed without limits. They built castles in the air, lived 1,000 lives in their minds, believed anything was possible. But as they grew older, society taught them to be realistic, to suppress imagination, to conform, to fear ridicule. Schools trained memory, but neglected creativity. Workplaces demanded obedience, but not vision. And so, the imagination of most men withered, leaving them trapped in lives no greater than the facts they already know. The successful, however, never abandon imagination. They nurture it, discipline it, and direct it toward definite purpose. That is the difference. Imagination without purpose is fantasy. It entertains, but produces nothing. Purpose without imagination is limited. It plans, but never innovates. But imagination united with definite purpose becomes a workshop where dreams are turned into reality. This is why you must not only imagine, but imagine with direction. Ask yourself, what do I want? What life do I intend to build? Then use imagination as the tool to construct the plans, the strategies, the innovations to bring it about Think of the entrepreneur who imagines a business that solves problems others accept. Think of the inventor who imagines a machine that saves time or labor. Think of the leader who imagines a better future for his people. Each of them first builds in imagination what later appears in reality. Without imagination, progress halts. With it, progress is inevitable. But imagination must be trained. Left undisciplined, it produces only idle daydreams. Trained, it becomes the architect of achievement. How do you train imagination? First, by feeding it material. Imagination cannot create in a vacuum. Read widely. Study deeply. Expose yourself to experiences, conversations, knowledge. The more raw material you give your mind, the more combinations it can form. Second, by practice, force yourself daily to imagine solutions to problems, to envision improvements, to picture your goals vividly. The more you use imagination, the sharper it becomes. Third, by faith, if you dismiss every idea as impossible, imagination shuts down. But if you nurture ideas with belief, more will come. Faith is the fuel of imagination. Doubt is its poison. Now let us address the challenges of today. Economic uncertainty frightens millions. They imagine only disaster, collapse, and loss. Their imagination is working against them, creating visions of failure that paralyze them. Yet those same conditions contain opportunities. New industries rise. New needs appear. New fortunes await those who can imagine solutions. In every crisis, the winners are those who imagine boldly while others cower. During the Great Depression, men like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Andrew Mellon imagined new ways forward while the majority despaired. The same is true today. Your imagination will either imprison you in fear or liberate you into wealth. Burnout is another plague. People exhaust themselves because they work without vision, grinding endlessly in routines without inspiration. But imagination rekindles energy when you can see your goal vividly, when you imagine the life it will bring. Your work becomes meaningful, and meaning restores strength. The man who imagines his purpose daily does not burn out because his effort is fueled by vision. Fear of change is also tied to imagination. The fearful imagine only the dangers of change. The wise imagine the opportunities. Change is inevitable, but whether it destroys you or enriches you depends on what your imagination focuses on. If you imagine loss, you shrink. If you imagine growth, you adapt. The future belongs not to the fearful, but to the imaginative. The subconscious mind is the seat of imagination, what you feed it daily through thoughts. Affirmations. Emotions becomes the material it works with at night, presenting you with ideas, solutions, and visions. This is why you must guard what enters your mind. If you fill it with fear, gossip, triviality, your imagination will produce nothing but weakness. But if you fill it with desire, faith, and great purpose, your imagination will deliver ideas that can change your life. Surround yourself with imaginative minds. The mastermind principle multiplies imagination as minds spark ideas off each other, producing insights none could reach alone. One idea triggers another, until together they form a plan greater than any individual could imagine. The greatest companies, inventions, and movements were born not of one mind, but of many minds. In cooperative imagination, discipline is essential. Discipline means converting imagination into action. Many imagine, a few act. The man who only imagines is a dreamer. The man who only acts without imagination is a laborer. The man who imagines and then acts with persistence is a creator. Train yourself not only to envision, but to execute, to build step by step what you first saw in the workshop of the mind. Now imagine your own life if you awaken this faculty. Imagine picturing clearly the wealth you want, the relationships you desire, the health you intend. Imagine holding those pictures so vividly that they guide your decisions, your habits, your actions. Imagine receiving flashes of inspiration, ideas for businesses, strategies for success, insights for growth. Imagine collaborating with others, your imaginations combining into innovations that set you apart. This life is possible. It begins by reclaiming the imagination you had as a child, refining it with discipline, and directing it with purpose. Every skyscraper was first a picture in imagination. Every fortune was first a picture in imagination. Every life of greatness was first a picture in imagination. The question is, what picture are you holding in the workshop of your mind? Are you imagining fear, scarcity, failure? Or are you imagining abundance, confidence, achievement? Whatever you imagine consistently, you will build. Your subconscious will accept it. Your faith will enforce it. Your actions will align with it. And life itself will shape around it. So decide today to take back your imagination. Use it deliberately. Feed it with vision. Discipline it with purpose. Nurture it with faith. Then act upon it with persistence. The workshop of your mind is open every moment of your life. It will build something, whether you direct it or not. Choose to build wisely. Choose to imagine boldly, and you will discover that imagination is not idle fantasy, but the greatest workshop of creation. In the starting point of wealth, power, and transformation.